There'll be something which you are genuinely interested in, and that should be a plan A. If not that, there should be a plan B. But remember, overall, over a period of time, whatever you do, you should be able to land up in plan A.
Is sales really a bad thing?
If you are a pure salesman, you can only rise up to a limit. Marketing is something that will constantly keep on telling you what next. At the retail counter, someone should ask for you, what about this brand? If that is being done, great. We are not in the era of looking at specialists. We are in the era of looking at specialized generalists. I can run a campaign, for argument's sake, across by and large most of Europe. I cannot do the same thing in India. We are actually 29 countries in terms of 29 states.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Great Lakes podcast. I'm very excited to announce to you the guest for today's conversation. He has over 37 years of hands-on marketing experience in high-level roles across various companies. He has spent over 33 years in teaching marketing in esteemed institutes like IMI Delhi, MDI Gurgaon and many more. He also teaches marketing at Great Lakes Institute of Management, Gurgaon. I'm very pleased to welcome Dr. Parveen Ahluwalia. Hi, welcome sir. Thank you for taking your time.
A pleasure.
And in today's conversation, we'll get to know what the concept of marketing exactly is, what are the various branches of marketing, what are some careers in marketing, what are some new emerging careers in marketing, plus what are some hard skills or tools that people who aspire to build a career in marketing can learn. So this is it. And to begin with, why don't you just take us through your journey and why and how did you build a career in marketing?
So it's been a checkered career. I mean, when I graduated from Pune, doing my MBA way back in 87, my first interest, of course, was to be in terms of getting into market research. I had done my summer placements and winter placements, but then as luck would have it, no research agency came for campus placements. And I always shared it with my students that, look, at the end of the day, notwithstanding being a gold medalist, I didn't get any kind of a PPO or any kind of a placement opportunity. And one should not feel disheartened if you don't get it in the campus. You can always look at it. So anyway, I started my career in research. I spent about 5 odd years there, became the youngest branch manager at the age of 28, manning a team of about 40 people. It was a wonderful experience. I realized obviously research is critical, but then research obviously stops at a point, after which the entire research inputs need to be taken as far as into strategy. My interest obviously was to be able to work on brands and communication. So as luck would have it, I got an opportunity of moving into an advertising agency. This is what I wanted to do. It was called Anthem Communications, which is now, of course, globally TBWA. So I started off as a strategy planning head. So I did about 15 years across 3 agencies as a strategy planning head and got some wonderful exposure working on the best of brands. That's where research was used as a tool. That's where strategy came in. That's where brands came in. So when I look back, I believe that marketing is so vast as a domain, but yet it has some very, very interesting focused areas where people can actually start doing a lot. And the best part about marketing is that there are no fine lines drawn. If one can adopt whatever one has learnt in your previous experience onto your next experience, it only becomes stronger as such. And that is something which I always take it as a positive as such. So today, I do consider myself, in all fairness, as a well-rounded marketing professional because I have had exposure to all kinds of, opportunities, if I may say so.
Right.
Coupled with this entire thing has been obviously the passion to be able to learn, train, and teach. Now, that is something which I started way back in 91. And that passion for teaching has now been on for about 32 years. And I've been fortunate. I've been able to spend time with the best of business schools, media institutes, and now I'm enjoying myself obviously here at Great Lakes as such. Teaching has tremendous advantages in terms of the fact that it keeps you totally, or rather it should keep you totally aware and abreast of what is happening around you.
Right.
I've always believed in all these 32, 33 years of teaching. It has been a wonderful experience purely because I have learnt a lot and I continue learning a lot when I'm teaching students because they keep on coming up with some things or the other here and there. So even that has, in all fairness, helped develop my intuitive, shall I say, contours of marketing as well as knowledge which I've had to learn on my own before I start sharing with them.
Right.
All my advertising days, about 16 years that I spent, we have what is known as, we suffer from brand myopia. In the sense that we live so close to a brand, sometimes we don't see the obvious when we are working on a brand strategy or a campaign. There have been many times where I have given a brand of a client to the class that, why don't you guys come up with certain ideas? And I've been so happy that they've actually come up with something which we would never even have thought about.
Yeah. Plus, you get to learn a lot.
And you get to learn a lot. So those, at the end of the day, the entire business of branding, strategic communications, marketing, whatever you may say, it's all about a 4-letter word: idea. So you can develop a good
That's what
idea.
my LinkedIn cover says.
So it's about idea. So how to think of a new idea, how to convert the idea, how to maximize the idea, how to action the idea. Because at the end of the day, a brand's fortunes totally depend on that.
100%. 100%.
So that's where it is.
Yeah, right. Where most students struggle is finding the right job and how to find it. Because especially when you are a fresher, you don't have that network who can maybe connect you with HRs, maybe connect you in their companies.
So I think before the right job and the right thing, the first thing is, have you thought about what you want to do in life? Today, I know for a fact there are so many options. Students generally are also confused. Should I do this? Should I do that? And then they obviously ask peers and their seniors and people like that, and that adds to the confusion. But I always tell them, look, you cannot be interested in 5 different things. There'll be something which you are genuinely interested in, and that should be a plan A. If not that, there should be a plan B. But remember, overall, over a period of time, whatever you do, you should be able to land up in plan A. The route can be circuitous. For example, there are people who, my juniors and my peers, they spend years in the advertising business. And they eventually moved on to the client side as marketing heads and all that. So that kind of exposure and knowledge is something that they'd already gained as such. And nothing went wrong. So I could be working in a public relations firm. I spent 8-10 years and I go on to become a corporate communications head of another company. I know exactly the way image building is built because I've been doing it throughout my life. So that experience, that exposure is only reinforcing what you're going to be doing. And that's what I keep on telling students. Every day that you spend in any kind of an academic institution is a knowledge day. And every day that you work, whether a summer placement or whatever, is invaluable. What you need to do only is, you should be able to learn and trust your instincts in being able to bind it together, in terms of being able to integrate it together. If you can do it, sky's the limit.
For sure. So for everyone who is watching this, can you break down the concept of marketing in very simple words? And after this, I'll tell you why I asked this question.
So, let's take the traditional Indian context. If you look at it, there are the multinationals and there are what I call the large professional corporates. And then you'll be obviously having a surfeit of typical entrepreneur-driven, sole proprietary concerns, individually run, who have been here for generations. For the first 2 bits, which is most importantly your multinationals and professionally run Indian corporates, people understand the difference between marketing and sales. But for the Indian-run entrepreneurial-driven companies, they have never been able to differentiate between sales and marketing. They've always been doing sales. And when this big buzzword came in terms of marketing, your sales head became a marketing head, your sales head became a marketing and sales head. So that's the context. Now, the thing is, if you look at marketing in terms of a simple statement, marketing is purely doing 2 things. A, it is developing a certain value for a brand so that it can stand differently in the market. And secondly, marketing is going to help you sell. Selling is an integral part as such. If you are a pure salesman, you can only rise up to a limit, because beyond that, you will not be able to figure out what else can I do to be able to cross the curve. Marketing is something that will constantly keep on telling you what next. It could be a cluttered market. It could be a saturated market. So can I do this? Can I do that? That's the knowledge that marketing imparts. It's not about the theoretical paradigms or the conceptual frameworks of the price product. No, I'm not getting into that. It's a very simple thing that marketing enables you to sell, and marketing enables you to be able to ensure that your product or brand is successfully placed in the market. If that is something which a student learns from the fundamentals of marketing, and then you get onto the rigor of it, everything that is going to be taught in any stream of marketing eventually has this particular objective, that A, it should be able to help you enable sales. And from a positioning or from a branding point of view, whatever you do, it should enable a customer in the market to ask for you. At the retail counter, someone should ask for you, what about this brand? If that is being done, great.
Awesome. So why I ask this question is, so someone who is unaware of marketing or someone who wants to pursue a career in marketing, but is very confused because be it SEO, be it content marketing, be it PR, be it influencer marketing, be it demand gen, everything is marketing, right? So whenever someone is looking for a career in marketing, they don't know which way to go ahead. Like, what is the kind of marketing that I want to do?
Yeah.
Whether I would go to PR, whether I would go to brand marketing or brand communications or whatever.
So, if you take marketing as a domain in terms of the opportunities, I mean, they were always clearly spelt out. Thanks to the advent of the internet and thanks to digital, perhaps the landscape has become slightly more blurred and confusing, but nonetheless, the demarcation is very clear. Let me just elaborate on that. So, if you look at marketing, first things obviously is, and this is where the FMCG part comes in, what is known as a brand management role. You're given a particular product, you will develop it, and then eventually you will work on a particular brand and you will accordingly take it forward through various means. That would include distribution strategies, selling strategies, pricing strategies, communication strategies. That's a typical role of what I call brand management. Now, this brand management has now been extended and enlarged to cut across several spectrums. Earlier, it was largely FMCG. Now it's for durables. Now it's for FMEG. You name it. You name. I mean, tomorrow I would be wanting to sell house wires. I still have to do marketing. Okay. I want to sell switches. I still need to. I want to sell pressure cookers. I still need to do it.
No company surviving without
nothing. So that's where it is. So that's the first part. The second part obviously comes in terms of, for example, brand consulting. Consulting is not just the domain, for argument's sake, in ITES. Consulting is a domain where even consultancies are there, where they offer careers specifically in terms of brand consulting, where you're supposed to work on an entire brand strategy on various brands from a service industry point of view. And that's again extremely exciting and interesting. The third thing one could be looking at is, for example, purely sales. One of the problems, I won't say problems, one of the gray areas that typical students may have is that they believe that sales is a dirty word. They don't realize that sales is the culmination point, as I said, of marketing. And it is not something that sales, when they think of sales, it is door-to-door sales or it is shop-to-shop sales. It doesn't work like that. At the end of the day, it is something which is generating an economic value in terms of a cost and a revenue coming in terms of profit.
Which is the ultimate goal.
Which is the ultimate goal of any, as I said, the ultimate objective of businesses is not to maximize revenue. It is to maximize profits.
Right.
And profits come specifically in terms of marketing, because marketing enables sales. That's the cycle. So that's the part about brand consulting. The other part happens to be in today's context, because not everybody is going to get into a D2C role or a B2C role. So today, inevitably, the B2B domain has become huge. I could be working, for example, in a software company. I could be working somewhere else where so I could be working in a hotel in terms of banqueting. My role is obviously to be able to get hold of corporates to organize MICE events, etc. Now, in that case, in terms of B2B, then there comes in the question of lead generation. So that's another part which is a part of marketing. Then you look at the entire domain of communications. So advertising, public relations, direct marketing, event management, sales promotion, and digital. It's a separate package. Then you look at careers in market research. Because at the end of the day, research is also... So look at the avenues which are there for anybody to be able to take it. It's just that they need to focus. I always believe today, at the end of the day, we are not in the era of looking at specialists. We are in the era of looking at specialized generalists. So just consider yourself to be the stepney wheel of a car. You should be able to fit into any of the four wheels, whatever it is, and you should be able to move ahead.
Would you like to explain a little bit more about the specialized generalist part?
Yeah, so the point is that today I could be
maybe you can cite an example.
Yeah, so for example, I am a marketing manager and I'm leading a team of about 15-20 people. Obviously, in that, HR is critical. So I need to be a damn good manager to be able to motivate them. I am evaluating them. Inbuilt is the practice of HR.
Right.
I am working on the entire budget, forecasting. Inbuilt is the question of financial accounting. I should be in a position to have all these skills.
Right.
I cannot tell them, look, I can't do this and I can't, because you are only as good as your team.
That's why it is always said the founder has to know at least 90% of the thing that is being done in the
So,
company.
you know,
because-
the role of a marketing head today, boy, has become intricate for two reasons. One, that marketing head should have these multidisciplinary skills. Now, I'm not saying everything, but should have a sound knowledge of that. And the challenge comes when that same marketing head has got 6-7 service entities working with him. So the marketing head has got an advertising agency, which is what we call a creative agency. He's got a media agency. He's got an out-of-home agency. He's got a digital agency. He's got an event partner. He's got a public relations partner. For each of them, they're working on one brand. This person is the nodal point, and he is giving them different briefs, eventually to be able to lead on to the overall brand strategy. So that's a different thing around.
And as you mentioned, in India, sales and marketing are often used interchangeably.
Interchangeably.
Right. And could you demarcate the clear distinction between the two? And does sale includes marketing and does marketing include sales?
To answer the second question first, marketing includes sales. Inevitably, in any large corporate, you will always have the sales heads actually reporting in via the business head to the marketing head, because the marketing strategy is first made as part of any organization plan. The marketing strategy will very clearly talk about the brand, the product, the forecast, the communication. Communication is handled by your own team. The forecast in terms of the product, the pricing is all done. And then that is discussed with the sales head. Look, this is it. These are your targets. Now go and do it.
Why is this confusion there? Like, why you mentioned that large companies have this clear distinction between marketing and sales, right?
I think it is also to do with the specific organizational culture. I mean, I can give examples. So there is a Nestle, for example, or a P&G or a Colgate-Palmolive, where it is very clearly distinguished and demarcated between the marketing sales part. Then I'm calling about the large Indian corporates who are extremely professionally run, and most importantly, they can also demarcate. And that I can talk about Bharti enterprises like Airtel. I can talk about 100-odd-year plus company like Dabur, so professionally run. Take Godrej. These are all Indian companies, but they are run absolutely like multinationals. On the other hand, I can take of large Indian corporates who have traditionally been entrepreneurial culture driven, owner proprietary driven. Examples could be, say, a Havells, which is a 14,000 crore company, or a Polycab in Bombay, another 13 to 40,000. Now, that is where the distinction between the sales and marketing is blurred, because they have traditionally been selling on their own. You know, the guys have spoken to their own distributors and they do it. They don't know what marketing can actually do. So they keep on experimenting, and the best of professionals do get hired. And I'm talking from 37 years of experience. As luck would have it, the professionals unfortunately don't last there, because it's a different kind of a culture, and they're out. And then the Lalaji, for want of a better word, thinks that, okay, I can do it on my own. After a year and a half, again he starts the role. Again somebody gets, injected into the system, and that's the way it works.
Can we say, for example, Polycab has cleared the or maybe has solved the distribution on how to get into the marketing, and that's why they didn't need the marketing?
No, but at the end of the day, so Polycab traditionally, if you look at it, has historically been a wires and a cables company.
Right.
Okay, they also had a very successful IPO in that sense. Now they have ventured into related product categories because the channel is the same, starting with LED lighting. Then they got into specifically MCBs and switches. And then they got into electrical products, specifically in the case of electric fans and water heaters, because the channel is the same. Now, they've not been successful to that extent with these other categories, the non-wires category, as what they had traditionally been doing for the last 50, 60 years. And the reason for that happens to be that obviously the system lacks a sound marketing acumen in terms of putting a roadmap together. And that is the problem around. You got to invest in people, of course. You got to invest in terms of time. At the end of the day, just because you've been so successful and you're the number one wires player in the country does not mean that you'll become the number one LED lighting player. Right. That is something which will take time. And that is where these organizations have to be able to give time when they hire the best of professionals for them to be able to take it forward. Havells, I would say, is much better in that sense as compared to Polycab. They have some wonderful SBU heads who are the best of professionals.
What is SBU?
SBU is the strategic business unit. So one is handling fans, one is handling lighting. These are all manned by one of the best, senior most industry professionals. But at the end of the day, there is still a CMD whom they have to report to. And that's where obviously the friction comes in.
Right.
And that is what youngsters, when they apply to these jobs, I think more than perhaps doing a homework on the company background and going through the portal, they should also, in my opinion, perhaps talk to, if there is some alum there and other thing, ask them specifically what is the work culture like. Because that work culture is the intangible part. You may get the best possible offer. It may sound extremely exciting. The products are fantastic. Company is very large. Everything sounds rosy. But it's the work culture which is the intangible part, which can be explained only by somebody who A, has dealt with the company, an external person. I've always been on the other side, so I can talk about from an external point of view, or someone who's in the inside and can tell you, look, this is what happens. That should be the determining factor. I could work in a small company, relatively unknown, but manned by a wonderful team of professionals who have put systems and processes, everything in place, and wonderfully professionally run with a small set of clients. But I'm profitable. I've got a wonderful culture. I've got a professional team. Training plays a critical role. We keep on conducting in-house training and everything. I would rather join that kind of a company than join this kind of a company.
What, according to you, is the, let's say, best culture? So can we name a few companies?
So let's take, for example, ITC. Phenomenal work culture. It's amazing as such. Let's take hospitality. You take Oberoi Group. You will find that the average tenure of a person is about 15 to 20 years, which is huge as such. It's amazing as such. Taj, let's take Tatas. Tatas traditionally, in my whatever experience I've known, are not the industry's best paymasters. But you catch anybody who's working in a Tata company, A, the person feels happy, the person feels secure and looked after, and the person is never going to leave that company in a hurry. Whether it is a TCS, whether it is a Tata Salt, whether it is Tata Motors, you name it, whether it's a telco, that's because the feeling is, this is something where we belong. And people have 25, 30, 35, 40 years experience till the time they retire. So the Tatas, the ITCs, these are shining examples of wonderful work culture.
So can we say the number of years that a person is, let's say, working in a company is a good metric to define the culture of the company?
Absolutely, because that person who is good and is staying on in a particular organization is staying on because A, he is growing within the organization. He is happy with the growth, which means the opportunities are coming. The culture is encouraging him to be able to do it. Otherwise, any good professional, if he feels suffocated in that kind of a work environment, will obviously leave. Here, that stability of tenure and the retention ratio of organizations should be the benchmarks in defining a work culture.
And how does the culture flow in the organization?
It flows both ways, because at the end of the day, first and foremost, it has to stem from the top and it should go right down to the lowest level. The best part about it is going to be the transparency and the openness. So whatever feedback you get also from the lowest rung is something that you should be open to in receiving it. It could be criticism. It could be a suggestion. It could be an input. It's great. For example, if I take the agency culture, advertising, PR, the best part is, while sure the designation is that you are the MD of a company and I'm an account executive. But the beauty of it is that the account executive will never call the MD sir. Because it's an entire forum is about ideas. What does it mean? The senior most person does not have to come with the best of ideas. Ideas can come from the junior most person also. And that should be encouraged.
100%.
So that's where the culture comes in.
Do you think there is something that a person working at mid-level or junior level can do to improve the culture of the organization?
Of course. It all depends again on the kind of a company you are there. If the company has a culture which encourages suggestions and feedback, now that is something which anybody in a position should be able to, go and talk to the next, the team leader or person ahead, or talk to the HR head, that I think if I'm saying so, I'm not too comfortable with this, so then it's the HR head's responsibility to be able to allay the fears, take care of the concerns, and then obviously take it to the next level.
But again, if it is a Lala company,
that doesn't happen that often. That doesn't happen that often. Unfortunately, this is my experience of dealing with n number of Lala companies throughout my almost 37 years. Mind you, there are some Lala companies which have now transformed from being Lala companies into something where they are professionally run, because the Lalas have learned to trust professionals to be able to take the operations forward. I'll give you an example of a client of mine. This is Relaxo Footwear. I handled this client, an account way back from 97 to 2000, which is almost 23 years ago. The company was about, that time, 80 crores. Today, the company is more than 3,000 crores. Okay. It was only known as a Hawaii Chappal company. Today, when you look at the entire communication strategy, whether it is a Salman Khan or Akshay Kumar, look at those flip-flops and all which are being done. That is because the Dua brothers, which is ML Dua and Ramesh, ML Dua is the chairman, Ramesh Dua is the MD, and I've worked very close. They both realized that if you have to go to the next level, then you got to invest in people. And you got to learn to be able to trust them. And you got to learn to be able to take their criticism. And that's how today it's the largest company. Earlier we used to talk about, Liberty or Batas. Today it is Relaxo. Who would have thought about it? And 28 or 300 crores or 3,000 is something which is amazing.
So we can say that trust is all that it takes to
so trust is mutual. So obviously from a service provider point of view, it's a tough thing, because first and foremost, you got to instill confidence in the client to be able to believe that you know his business. After installation of that confidence, then will obviously come respect. This person knows my business. After which will come in the personal rapport. Now I can trust this person.
Right.
You cannot build trust overnight. It doesn't happen like that.
As you said, students are very reluctant on getting a job into sales.
Yes.
Instead, they would go for marketing.
Yes.
One is, why is this the case? Secondly, is sales really a bad thing?
Oh, that's what I keep on telling people. I teach sales and distribution management. So, that's where it is. Then I move on to B2B marketing and I move on to IMC. So, the point I always tell them is that, look, any business that you do eventually has to realize in revenue. For example, and this is something we've been discussing internally, if I were to change the nomenclature of SDM, sales and distribution management, to say revenue maximization or something, they'll say, wow, man, that's damn good. Managing distribution channels or managing channels. The fact is that this particular generation somehow, for whatever worth, I can't comment on it, they believe that sales is door-to-door selling. Now that is door-to-door, please understand, is for a separate kind of a domain, etc. Or the fact that I'll have to go shop to shop. You see, when you're working in a company, even in a sales function, you got your managers, you got your executives, feet on the ground, and then you're dealing with distributors. Distributors in turn service the retail outlets. You can do a market visit in a particular market. Like say, I want to go down to Lajpat Nagar, I want to go down to XY market, Kotla Mubarakpur. That's something you're doing on your own. But you're not going shop to sell your product. You've already got a distributors. One distributor can service up to 150 to 500 outlets.
Right.
So why are you going? That is because they are not knowledgeable or equipped about what the hell is it. This is all hearsay. So when they come into a classroom and they go into this, then they realize, yeah, this is pretty interesting. This is pretty fascinating as such. So we're looking distribution channels. One is the traditional channel. There is modern trade also. Then you start talking to the Chromas and the Reliances of the world. There is online also. Then you're talking to the Amazons and Flipkarts. You got your exclusive brand outlets. You're setting it up. So distribution is not only restricted to that.
Right.
Look at an example of distribution which I think is a unique one in India, and that happens to be in automobiles. Maruti. All cars traditionally, even today, have always been sold through authorized dealer showrooms. Maruti, traditionally, which has been a joint sector government company, obviously it's a Japanese company, turned the rules of the game when it launched and introduced Nexa. So they're very clear, these cars, their premium lot, will be sold and marketed through Nexa. The smaller cars, the cheaper cars, will be sold through the authorized showroom. Today, when I go and pick up a Grand Vitara, the best part is I do not get a Grand Vitara sticker on my car. I get a Nexa. And suddenly people realize, wow, man, that's a Nexa car. This is what I call disruptive marketing. Suddenly someone has thought of a different alternative channel to sell the same car which others have been doing for generations.
But positioning it differently.
Absolutely. So you've created a new parallel channel. Now, isn't this marketing? You may think it's distribution and sales because the customer comes. Yeah, but this is marketing strategy. Someone has thought about it that look, let's do this. And let's change the entire image of Maruti. Absolutely. That's where it has happened.
So, taking from your example itself of making the positions fancy. So, what is the difference between sales and business development, or is it just a fancy name for sales?
No, traditionally, when you look at it, sales. So, first and foremost, okay, I'll answer the question. Business development is sales generation. That's all. Number one. Let me be very clear about it. Business development is specifically used in the context of mid to large size corporates, and that inevitably has a connotation in terms of new business. That you're going to develop new clients. So that's the business development part. We know business most importantly accrues from two sources. One, new business from new clients, which is where the business development comes in. And the second is most important, additional business from existing clients. That is the organic growth and that is the profitable growth. Today, if a client is billing 50 lakhs for me and next year he bills 65 lakhs for the same set of deliverables, my bottom line goes up. But to be able to develop a 50 lakh new client account, I may have to actually invest about 5 to 10 lakhs first. That is where it comes. And then comes the entire thing of nurturing the relationship. The same thing about building the trust. And it's a renewal, it's a contract. The guy may feel unhappy after a year and say, no, sorry, I'm not going to do it. Those are the things around about them as such. So business development is used specifically to be able to generate new partners. And sales inevitably is there to be able to look at in terms of traditional sales coming from all these kind of channels.
Let's talk a little bit about careers in marketing. Since marketing has evolved a lot over the last decade, I would say. So what are some new roles that are coming up in marketing? And are the existing ways of marketing, or I would say the traditional ways of marketing, still relevant?
First and foremost, traditionality never goes out of fashion. The core still remains. At the end of the day, even if I take for argument's sake, traditional marketers like the Amways and the Avons of the world, which was into multi-level marketing, they've been forced to actually set up now outlets in traditional channels. That's something which has happened. India, please understand, is the most difficult and challenging market on this planet. And the reason is because we are actually 29 countries in terms of 29 states. I can run a campaign for argument's sake across, by and large, most of Europe. I cannot do the same thing in India because the people of Chennai, for argument, think differently, behave differently than, say, the people in Delhi. That's the way it is. So when you look at careers in marketing, as I already explained, so take a thing like CRM, customer relationship management. It is actually business development in terms of organic growth. You are increasing the business from your existing partners by doing a lot of activities through communication. You could be having events, promotions, direct marketing, digital, etc. So that's the way, again, look at it. CRM is getting interwoven into digital. It is getting interwoven into events. That's where that entire integrated mindset comes in. Number two, designations may keep on changing in terms of nomenclatures. But I think students of today must realize what is the core function all about. And I think as marketeers and as marketing students, leave alone marketing professors, I think it is incumbent on us to be able to explain to all prospective students getting into marketing as a career that, look, don't get misled into the designation part of the nomenclature. Let's understand what each role actually comprises so that you're very clear, if I do this, I'll be doing this. You take account managers. There are account managers in the business of communication. There are account managers in banking. What do they call them? Relationship managers. There are account managers in travel. You're handling. So it's a generic term. Now, I may call it key success manager. I may call whatever it is. But the role, at the end of the day, to be a good account manager, I'll start by handling one client. Eventually, if I'm good, I'll be giving 3-4 more clients. Then my team will also increase. Eventually, I'll become an account director because I'll be handling 7-8 clients. And I'll be having for each client separate teams. That's the way it works. But the role does not change. In fact, as you go higher up, the responsibility of being able to maintain that relationship, to be able to ensure that the relationship grows and becomes profitable, that is incumbent on Today, you won't believe it, in agencies, you have president account management. There's a president handling account management. There could be 40 clients. Then there's a vice president. Then there's a director. Each are coming down like that. So that's the way it works.
Okay. So, how does the growth path of someone who's looking forward to a career in marketing look like?
So-
and what are some roles, or I would say jobs, that offer very promising salaries in marketing?
By the way, if you look at sales traditionally, the salary part will be the highest because the variable will be the highest. The fixed could be, for example, 50 to 60%.
Right.
The variable could be the higher one. Today, youngsters must also realize, should I go for a lower fixed salary and a higher variable? But then they realize, no, they play conservative. No, I want a certain salary for my monthly thing. But they're going to realize the business principle in life: higher the risk, higher the profit. You be confident about your performance, you'll get a higher variable.
If you're very sure of
If
you
you're
can-
very sure of what you're going to do, that's not a problem. If you look at traditional hierarchies and all, I'll give you two examples. Let's take a typical FMCG company. So you start with, for example, I'm talking about after having done your management. So you start as a product executive. So you're going to be handling a particular product. Eventually you become a product manager. So I could be handling washing powder. I could be handling soaps, one particular thing. Then you become a brand manager. From a brand manager, you become a category manager. From a category manager, you become a marketing manager. And then, of course, you move up the ladder. That's the way you move in an organization. If you look at sales, from sales executives, you move on to obviously territory managers. You most importantly become regional managers. Then you become zonal managers. Then you become all India sales head. That's the way the path grows. If you take the agency business, you start as an account executive, account in any case being a client, to an account manager, to an account group manager, to an account director, and then of course the director client servicing, and you move up the ladder. So at the end of the day, in whatever business I am, whether I'm in a D2C or a B2C, the customer is my client. And if it's a question of a B2B, the client is my customer. That's the way the roles reverse.
So, is the education system in India is in sync with today's industry requirements?
Yes.
We will not just stick to marketing, but overall.
No, yes and no, because today you are having so many diverse educational streams in different kinds of domains. So obviously there are institutes and schools who are obviously training you. I mean, for example, you won't believe it, today people talk about, I want to do a course in creative writing. This was unheard of 10, 15 years ago. And I want to do something in terms of animation because I'm interested in that. Now, these are phenomenal things which are being done. So I think also today people are, and that's the reason why you have the Upgrads and Udemy's of the world doing these kinds of courses, because people believe the need to keep on upskilling themselves as such. Okay. I still come back to the first point. There are so many opportunities today available for today's generation, yet you must still have the focus to be able to concentrate on your 1 and 2. Don't have plan C and D, stick to your plan A and B and ensure that whatever you're skilling yourself with, additional qualification, additional exposure, additional course, whatever it is, eventually how is it helping me for my plan A? If you have that perspective, you'll go far in life.
My question was more about the traditional schools, right? Let's say if someone is going for higher education, let's say MBA or whatever course, are these schools changing their curriculum? Are they modifying themselves
So
to adapt to
the best
industry
of schools obviously keep on, ensuring that they keep abreast of the latest trends as such. I mean, if I take Great Lakes, the analytics specialization is unique because there is a need for it. There is a need to understand, for example, data mining. There's a need to understand, for argument's sake, other particular courses that we run. So there's a need which has come from the industry. And that's the reason why we have the skilled professionals who are the professors who are teaching them as such.
Like if I were to take an example, are the marketing schools in India today teaching how to become a YouTuber or how you can be a content creator or how to do influencer marketing?
Yeah, so that depends again. Influencer marketing, etc., would be, for example, if somebody is taking up a specialization in digital marketing and accordingly then doing a particular module on performance marketing, so you will obviously do it. You could also be learning, for example, in terms of website design, etc. You could be doing online advertising, you could be doing social media. That's all a part of digital. On the other hand, if I take marketing communication, then you're getting the hang of the entire brand strategy, right from advertising, PR, etc. Yeah, but I'm taking the other example. So a course in terms of, say, digital marketing or marketing communications is going to be taught in the best possible manner more often than not by industry practitioners in the best possible business schools.
All right. Anyone who wants to start a career in marketing, I would break this question into two parts. One is with MBA, another thing is without MBA.
Yeah.
What is the way to go through?
No, so it depends on where you are in life. I mean, typically, again, keeping today's generation in mind, the average student may say, I'll finish my graduation and I'll obviously do a 2-year MBA. Purely from a placement point of view, I'll be better empowered. I should get a good job. Because what you're getting after graduation can get you somewhere purely from exposure and experience point of view, but it will not take you to a quantum leap. So, which is why your executive MBA programs are becoming more and more popular, because people have moved after graduation, worked 3, 4, 5 years, and then they've realized, they've hit a ceiling.
Right.
Now, to go on to the next level, you need obviously to be able to do a management qualification, whatever it is.
So my question was where to start from.
It all starts from interest at the end of the day. If you feel you want to complete your education in one shot, and you do your 10 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2, it depends on you. On the other hand, if you feel no, after my graduation, and that's a good way to go about it, I would like to be able to get some exposure. You go out into the market, work for a while, wherever it is, and then come back and do a management program.
And does it help in MBA? If you have
Work
certain-
experience obviously helps, because the perspective towards the subject is quite different when you've already experienced the world as compared to someone who's a fresher.
All right.
You know.
And so most of the marketing is often considered to be as a soft skill, right? And so are there any tools or are there any hard skills that one should acquire to pursue a career in marketing?
Well, as we know very well, even to do a marketing course in any program, always the first year in a 2-year program is obviously the foundation year, where you are obviously, exposed to all particular core business areas. But in the case of marketing, as I said, let's take the course aside. I think fundamentals need to be looked at. Develop a reading habit, which is tough to be able to tell people. Develop an awareness level. So yes, today's generation is they're so futuristic in terms of understanding technology. But the problem is, even if they go and see a movie in a PVR, I'm asking a simple question. You go and see a movie, but also check out in the market what is happening. Look at the signages, look at a particular promotion happening. That is where the awareness comes in. That is unfortunately not there. That a management school or a management program or a marketing program will ensure that you do it. That an average person will not know.
And are there any tools that one should learn?
No, in fact, like I said, we should not be overhyping it or over-preparing ourselves. I think we should come with purely an open mind, and secondly, willingness to learn. That I think is the biggest learning and discipline.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much for making out time. And I'm sure our viewers have learned a lot.
It's been a pleasure and a privilege. And as I said, one learns a lot also when one talks about it and when one answers questions. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.